Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back. It is time for another edition of BS and a Beer. This is the episode of a couple of firsts. The first, I've been able to bust out this style of glass. It is a spin-off of the Spiegelau IPA glass. The first time we are going to have the glass swag and the beer brewery match. And the first time that I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go, so the backup system is in place just in case any beer ever goes south. But for the time being, as we slide it in, we present the beer of the evening. This is Uranus the Magician from Bell's Brewing in Kalamazoo, Michigan. This is a black double IPA coming in at 9.5%, and it was part of a planetary series they did way back when. This is, where is it? There it is. Packaged 5/24/2015, so 10 years old, a little over 10 years old. A black IPA as a style, really, it's basically your standard IPA India Pale Ale, so like the well-hopped lager, but it's usually made with darker malts to give it kind of that stout taste. It's a style that came around, and I did look it up, in the early 90s with the Vermont Pub and Brewery in Burlington, Vermont. But let us see if this one holds up or if we try again. Okay, some carbonation. Okay, the smell is alright. Smells kind of malty, so that kind of sweetness. Not much in the way of the roasted hops, or the hops, I should say. Hops usually aren't roasted, but let's get it poured into this glass. Carbonation, very little, but that's, again, not that unusual for a several-year-old beer, and this is kind of the spin-off of the tulip glass, as long as it's kind of bulbousy and can catch the aroma. Let's see. Alright, well, hopefully we should be, looks like we should be okay, so, there's definitely nothing on the aroma that's saying, this probably isn't going to be good to drink, so, we're gonna take a pause here, we're gonna flip it around, and we're going to get going into whatever we're going to discuss tonight. All right, and here we are. We've got the Spiegelau. And now normally the IPA glass, it would have a little bit of a taller thing here, and there would be ridges to help keep the carbonation going. But in this case, it's not that huge a deal. You can use this for pretty much anything. Again, the catch-all glass. Looking at the blurb, the sixth release in our Planet series, Uranus is a black double IPA, also the first large release of this style of beer for them. Citra Galaxy, Polaris, and other hard-to-find hops, yada yada. Debittered and dehusked black malt, so that is why it looks like a stout or a porter. Don't let the illusion of the magician deceive you. Dank tropical stone fruit. Well, we'll see. The smell of that stuff obviously has long since gone by the wayside, but that's just due to time and the nature of hops. But like I say, it smells kind of red winey, that dark fruit, a little roasted coffee, so it smells like it should be a stout. Like if you just handed it to me and didn't tell me what it was, I would think it was a stout, but well, let's see. Okay. Actually held up. I wouldn't think it was an IPA. Well, no, now the hops are coming in at the end. There's that bitterness that's kind of rising up. All right. So 10 years old. This should not have lasted as long as it did, and this is good because I already have the thumbnails kind of partially pre-made for the backup beers just in case. With any of these, especially the older beers, something I'm 100% going to have to do is make sure that I have a backup system in place just in case I have to call an audible mid-shoot. This, all right, I like that. And 9.5%, that's good enough percent for it to be perfectly fine. And speaking of alcohol percentage, and this goes back to a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, when I was talking about the differences between whiskey and bourbon, and I was talking about how it had to be bottled in various proofs and ABV, and then it got me thinking, it's like, well, why is proof still a thing? So I started digging into it, and much like anything else, it goes back to the old days. When was it? 16th century England, by the way. And like anything else, it was to do with how something was taxed, how alcohol was taxed. And basically, they said that the spirits were taxed based on how alcoholic they were. It was settled to them that what they considered 100 proof, which would be 50% alcohol, was determined to be what they called the proof point, or basically the point in which if you lit the alcohol on fire, that it could maintain combustion, thus being a truly flammable liquid. So basically, they would set it on fire. If it burned, they tax it as 100 proof. But the problem was, they didn't test it any further. Once it lit on fire, it was just determined it was 100 proof, regardless of whether or not it truly was 100 proof. And then the alcohol by volume came in, and then they just figured out, okay, well, let's just double it for the proof to match it. So, 50% is 100 proof. And looking over it, the United States is really the only country that uses proof anymore. And basically, it looks like the reasons they list are as such. Familiarity, okay, that's fine, but at the same time, we also have seen the percentage as well. And customer awareness. Again, we understand, people understand that proof and percentage are two sides of the same coin. People definitely understand that. So at this point, it's just a very antiquated system, honestly, that I think needs to skedaddle. But yeah, so that's basically where proof came from. So, and then I guess the proof is in the pudding came from, you would tell how alcoholic it was when you actually ate whatever was soaked in it. Speaking of soaked in it, let's have a little bit more of this, shall we? Because actually it's a lot better than I thought it was. Good old Uranus. Uranus the Magician. Don't know what exactly the tie-in between Uranus and Magician is. I couldn't actually tell you, because I think Uranus in Greek mythology was the god of not so much time. I cannot recall. I'm sure I'll think of it at some point. Or I'll pause it and just go look it up. I'll probably think of it at some point. I honestly can't remember what Uranus is the god of. It's not time, that's Kronos. I'll think of it at some point eventually, I promise. But anyway, black IPA. It's not bad. It really isn't bad. Like, I'm still kind of waiting for that weird sour taste, but that weird sour taste, thankfully, is not just happening. Now and then in the description, I did say, a couple of terms that maybe you didn't know about. Have you ever seen the term Navy strength when it comes to alcohol? Usually it's on rums or gins or things like that. Navy strength gin. That term Navy strength, actually, you can't just put it on there as a marketing gimmick. It actually has an applicable law. Came from, again, going back to England, the British Royal Navy. And they would put Navy strength on it, that on any spirit that had enough alcohol where if the barrels were to be shattered or broken mid-voyage and the alcohol would soak into the gunpowder, that the gunpowder could still be ignited. And they determined that was 57% alcohol or 114 proof. There we go. We'll just throw the proof in there for the fun of it. So 57% alcohol, at the bare minimum, is what they would classify Navy strength. So you see Navy strength gin, Navy strength rum. It was all at least 57% because, and I think that's really fascinating, because obviously they would transport the spirits and the gunpowder in the same type of kegs. They take a hit, they're going to intermix 57 or higher percent alcohol. soak the gunpowder in it, gunpowder's still going to ignite. That is really cool to think about. Really cool to think about. So that is where the term Navy strength comes from. Now, something a little different, and it came about because I was watching a YouTube channel and they referred to this in regards to a liquor bottle. You know, on the bottom of a bottle, usually a wine bottle, there's that little indentation. Do you know what that is called? What that is for? Well, actually, it's called a punt. And I didn't know what it was for, so I did look it up. Historically, the punt was crucial for the structural integrity of the bottle back when the bottles were hand-blown, as it helped to stabilize the bottle and push up the seam. Modern bottles, they don't really need that anymore. While modern bottles are machine-made, the punt remains partly due to tradition and partly because it can serve other purposes like collecting sediment and aiding in pouring. Aiding in pouring, I don't know how, unless because of the indentation from the punt, it would kind of break it up and give a different flow out of the mouth of the bottle. Sediment collection, I do understand that. Because it will obviously, if you store wine upright, which actually you're supposed to do. I don't think you're supposed to really store red wine lying down, or if you do, I don't think the cork is supposed to get wet. Or is that? No, the cork is supposed to get wet. It's beer. If beer is corked, and there are some beers that are corked, you don't want the cork to get wet for beer. My apologies. But obviously, wherever you store it, that sediment or the yeast, because a lot of this stuff isn't filtered. Some beers, champagne obviously isn't filtered, and most wine isn't really filtered. The sediment is going to settle at the bottom. And if you have the punt there, it's not going to settle in one pool. It's going to kind of disperse a little bit. I don't know. I just think, and plus it's just a fun word to say. Like, what's that? Oh, that'd be the punt, lad. And then the final one. And this one, I'm kind of curious if my dad knows the answer to this. Because, when you're drinking, you go out to a bar and you're going to have a straight spirit. Well, actually, speaking of, this isn't really, I don't know. No, that could be something for another thing. Is beer technically a spirit? I don't know, because it is brewed, much like liquor is brewed at the start. I don't know. That's a topic for another day. I should write it down. I probably won't. I'll watch this back and I'll remember it then. Well remembered, Zach. Oh, that's really nice. And the thing about beer is, I talked about it last week with the beer being ice cold. The more the beer warms up, the more the flavors are going to change. It's going to open up. You're going to get a lot more flavors because as it's colder, like I said, it dulls the taste. So as it warms up, you're going to get a lot more flavors. So the longer you take with the one beer, you get about halfway, it's going to start tasting slightly different, which is very cool. Now, that bitterness is kind of gone, and now it's replaced more with that kind of bitter and tannic. Since we were talking about wine just a moment ago, that kind of tannic aftertaste that comes from like darker roasted things. Now back to the final one. When you're gonna pour yourself a drink or have yourself a drink, we all know there's certain terms. It's like on the rocks. We know what on the rocks is. It means it's served with ice, but it's not diluted, beforehand. It's just spirit ice. That's on the rocks. Now we've also heard the term neat, and we've heard the term straight up. A lot of times we hear those terms used interchangeably. But are they interchangeable? The answer, I found out, is no, they're not. Because there is a difference between neat and straight up. I did not know this, so I'm going to pass it along to you. Neat, if you're ever getting like a whiskey or a scotch and you say, how do you want it? I would like it neat. Basically means everything is at room temperature. The liquor is served at room temperature in a room temperature glass, whereas straight up is served the room temperature spirit. Straight up, though, is in a chilled glass. I did not know that there was a difference, and I actually did not know that it involved the the temperature of the glass of all things. So there you go. That I always thought I admit I kind of thought that neat and straight up were interchangeable terms. Turns out they are not. So again, to put a bow on this one and wrap it up, a 10-year-old Black Double IPA. I'm shocked, but it's a winner. So the backup beer will remain. Actually, will remain until tomorrow. It remains to be seen, because any beer that I pick out that isn't aged one that even I'm questioning, yeah, I'm gonna have a backup beer ready just in case. But if all goes well, tomorrow we are going to delve a little bit into that style, and it's going to involve our first foreign beer, first international non-American beer, which is going to be fun. It is a brewery I'm familiar with, and they make very good stuff. But we're going to talk a little bit about chili peppers. We're going to talk a little bit about absinthe. We're going to have a VR, and yeah. Unless the original beer isn't good, then we're going to switch to something else. But we're still going to talk about chili peppers and absinthe. So I'm going to finish this off and then get ready to go catch Aaron over at Sports Cards and Things for Aloha Friday. We'll see you guys over there. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought down below. If you're drinking along, cheers. Be safe. Don't be driving anywhere after this. We will see you next time.